Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. So glad you could be with me today. Had a few requests to talk about testing for square and planing square edges. So you have a flat surface that you've planed, you have your scribble on there. That's your datum surface. You check for square on there, okay? And you use a decent square. But whatever it is, as long as it's testing square, that's all that matters. Now, what can throw you off square begins with your body and your workbench. Your workbench is a flat surface, and you develop muscle memory knowing where square is. Will you get it exactly every time? No. You build that up the more planing you do. That's why if you're going to do hand tool woodworking, you're better off doing your surfacing, your thicknessing by hand. Because the more flat planing you do, the more you get that muscle memory that you know where flat is and square. So that's one thing. The other thing is, are you left-handed or are you right-handed? I'm left-handed, but I force myself to plane right-handed. Only because most workbenches are set up right-handed. Most planes are set up right-handed. I prefer planing left-handed. That's a whole nother story. Now that's your body, your bench. The plane is where you can also go askew. And I mean askew. If your lateral has to come way out, past the edge of past the side of the blade considerably, then your frog is not in so that it gives you a square cut. And if your plane blade is higher on one side than the other, you're not going to get a square cut. So there's a lot of little things. Check your plane, check your setup, blade sharp. Remember I mentioned last time about the blade being square. Have the front edge is square to the blade, and also your cap iron is square to itself. That's part of the importance. All of these little things, they all add up. So, assuming you have your plane set up to where you have a nice, even, parallel cut straight across the sole of your plane, what you do is you check your wood. Find out where your high spots are. I have a high spot over here, over there, on the same side, but back here, it's almost square. So, I'm putting it in the vise this way. What I do is I bring the plane over towards the side that's going to be cut. And I keep the body of the plane, the right cheek on that right edge. That will be a no cut edge. That is a safe edge. It can't cut just because of the design of the plane. You can't cut. There's a solid piece of cast iron here. So then what I'll do is I'll take one light pass, and I'm talking light shavings. Take a light pass there, move over a little bit. Take another light pass. You see how the one side of the shaving is feathered and the other side is square? Now I'll take a full cut right down the middle. Maybe a second one. Okay, that should be an even, full, straight, square cut. Check. It's square in the middle, really square on this end. I'm getting like zero light. And on this end as well. That now is square. So that edge would be an edge that I would use as an exposed edge for like a shelf, a carcass side, anywhere where I'm not joining anything to it, or where I am joining something to it. If I'm bringing a mortise and tenon into here, I can trust, looking at this way, face and edge, I can trust this corner to be square. Now, if I were doing a glue joint, I want these two faces glued together, and I don't care if the back is uneven, but I want the face. I want this face to be parallel. I simply fold these two together, two faces together. Put them on the workbench, hold them together, put them in the vise, together, clamp them so they can't move, and then I plane these together. And what happens in this instance is it doesn't matter how square these are, because when you unfold these and put them together, that's a perfect glue joint. And I will have created a flat surface, requiring little to no additional work. Okay? So that would be the glue joint. When you're making glue joints, don't plane them individually. Plane them together. It's easier. Much easier. When you're doing a show edge, a joinery edge, then you need to use your square and, have as accurate a square as is in your budget, but just make sure it's square and do those individually. Now there's one other type of square. There's square to the eye. All right? Here's one other quick tip. I got a bunch of tips for you here today. I hope you appreciate it. Check your vise. Make sure you're clamping your wood square to the surface of your bench. Why is that important? Goes back to that muscle memory. You're picking up your plane, and the sole of the plane is parallel to the ground, which is parallel to the surface. And so therefore, when you pick up your plane, you're picking it up square to that edge. So square to the eye, what is that? That's when you're roughing out stock. No square needed. You don't need a square. You use your eye. You use your eye and you see, does this look like a 90-degree corner? Does this look like a 90-degree corner? If both of them look reasonably the same, I know this one isn't. Let me see if I can show that to you. This one isn't. This one's high on this side. I don't know if you can see that. It's high over here. Back here, it's also a little bit high back in this corner. But square to the eye for your rough dimensioning. So now I know that this corner is high. Of course, I could tell by my eye that it was out. So I just hang the plane over, take a few passes, move over slightly. I see I still got lines on this side. And let's see, one more, two more. I look at it again. This side looks square. This side looks square. So if I were to put a square on it, down here is perfectly square down here. Then there's just a little bit of a high spot here. But that's good enough for right now, because I don't know if I'm just prepping a whole bunch of stock for a project. I don't know exactly where that edge is going to be. Or I'm prepping it today, going to sticker it overnight, 2-3 days maybe, and then start doing my glue ups and my joinery. The wood may move. So that's square to the eye. You can do that. And it's just a matter of, you know, the old one of these things doesn't look like the other thing? Well, if one corner looks the same as the other corner, then they're square enough. Square enough. No sense to pull out the square. Well, there you go. To recap, check your workbench, flat and square vise. Check your plane. If your lateral is way out, adjust your frog, left or right, whatever is necessary to get that to stay more towards the middle. Make sure your blade and your chip raker are square. It's important to get it as square as you can. At least once every half dozen or so honings, just go back and see if you're honing a little out of square. Put it all back together. Make sure your blade is coming out parallel to your sole. And then it's just a matter of the dance. Learn the dance. Okay? You learn if you need to go more towards this side. You'll learn to go whether you go to this side. Some people turn their plane this way a little bit. Some people camber their blade a little bit more so that it's feathering out to one side. And that's why a cambered blade can be helpful, but your final pass has got to be down the middle. Okay? Hope this was helpful to somebody and that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it the old thumbs up. Share and subscribe. Head out to your shop. Go make some shavings. Walter out.